My name is Delaine. I'm 66 years old. I live in Waterloo, Illinois with my husband, Richard. Between us, we've had 6 children, 10 grandkids, and 5 great-grandkids. We both developed COVID right before Christmas. We quarantined for 2 weeks. The symptoms were manageable. Richard recovered without any issues. I did not. It affected my breathing and my heart. My blood pressure spiked. My heart raced and it skipped beats while resting. It was hard for me to catch my breath. I'm always short of breath. My nebulizers and inhalers didn't work. After different tests, the doctors put me on 5 different new blood pressure medicines. I have yet to see a pulmonary doctor. I am always fatigued, and it is difficult for me to go to work. My doctors are only treating the symptoms instead of the cause of this, which is COVID. When I first heard about Tim, I couldn't believe that there was actually someone who had long COVID and actually figured out a way to treat this. I felt so blessed and thankful that I might have the opportunity to be treated as well. I want to thank all the doctors, the Fish Out of Water Foundation, and especially Tim for making this possible. God bless you.
Welcome aboard with Fish Out of Water, your beacon in the foggy, uncharted ocean of post-COVID health struggles. We've suffered ourselves and spent a fortune seeking answers, but we are finally finding those answers and healing. Now we're sharing them. Together, we'll chart a course to recovery.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Fish Out of Water podcast. My name is Tim Husserow. I am the CEO of Fish Out of Water, and I have a very, very special guest today on the podcast. I am joined today by Delaine Dale. Delaine, go ahead and say hi.
Hi, how are you?
Delaine is a fellow long hauler, recovering fellow long hauler. And I'll give a little intro on Delaine real quick before we get into her story. Delaine Dale is 67 years young from Waterloo, Illinois, married to Richard. They have 6 kids, 10 grandkids, and 5 great grandkids. And I wanted to tell you her story because our intro, because when you hear her story, you're going to understand why she had so much to live for with everything that she went through. So, Delaine, it's an honor to see you.
Thank you.
It's an honor to be in your presence. And can you please tell the folks listening your story, why you're here today?
All right. I know this isn't live, but it's Veterans Day. First, I want to thank all the veterans for their service and sacrifice to this country. But
Thank you for that.
well, my husband and I developed COVID right before Christmas last year. The symptoms weren't that bad, just a cough, sinus. I was fatigued. I decided to get a home test, and we both tested positive. It was either Christmas or Christmas Eve, but we quarantined for 2 weeks there. Our kids were able to bring us the supplies and medicine that we needed, but with all the horror stories I heard about getting COVID, the 2 weeks were relatively mild compared to that. And I was thankful that I was able to at least stay in house, not have to go any farther. But the doctor prescribed strong cough medicine for my husband. That was about it. And my doctor just told me to take a cough medicine over the counter. So it really didn't help much, but we did make it through, and then eventually tested negative. So um, and he got back to normal. I mean, he pretty much got over it, but I never did. Um, Weeks, during the time after, my concern was my heart, because it at times was racing and sometimes feeling like a punching bag in there.
And did any of this happen before COVID? Like, did you have heart complications prior?
No,
Okay.
no. My AFib runs in my family,
Mhm.
but I never had it. And um, my underlying symptoms were asthma, diabetes, and high blood pressure. But that was my concern, was my heart. Um, because anytime you turn the news or TV on, you heard about another person dropping dead from their heart.
Mhm.
And so that worried me, and it just continued to get worse um, in the weeks that followed. But
So around Christmas, you guys got this. 2 weeks later, you're testing negative. Richard, your husband, has gotten better, and
yes,
then you haven't. So then you go into January. When did you start reaching out to medical help saying something's not right?
well, I had a um, doctor's appointment scheduled for the middle of January with my primary, and I told her, my COVID story, and my concerns with my heart, and because my breathing hadn't um, taken over then, but um, she did a EKG in office and then ordered a Holter monitor to be done, and that wasn't done for. I didn't get that for a week and a half, but uh, in that time. Um, my breathing became labored, and it was hard for me to talk. I was having to, take deep
Mm.
breaths in between a couple of words. So um, I had the Holter um, test, and it really didn't show anything. I mean, it did show something. I don't understand it, but at first they called and said, "Oh, it's normal." And I questioned them about something else that it's had in the written form. And, I asked, do I need to see a cardiologist because of that from what she described?
Mhm.
And she said, probably. So that's when
Not a yes, not a no, but probably.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
we'll send you
Might help you.
someplace else. So, so that's when I saw the first cardiologist. And at that time, my breathing, was so labored. He
Mhm.
was worried about that. And then my heart, and then my blood pressure was up. So um, he started ordering a lot of tests. And I think, and I told him, I had COVID, and I believe that's what's causing all of this.
Mhm.
But his concern was my blood pressure and my heart, and trying to get it and then my breathing. So um, I know in between probably those 3 months, um, I had at least 13 tests, medical tests.
Hmm.
Um, I had two stress echoes. One of them showed something, so I had the heart cath. Um, that showed something, but not enough to cause, be the cause of this.
Hmm.
So it just more and more tests. They and each time it was they really didn't know, and they weren't worried about COVID causing that, or me being on having long COVID. So
So to unpack this 2022 Christmas, you got it. Now we're into 2023. You've gotten 13 different tests, and no one this year has said anything about long COVID.
not those, not
Okay.
no, not in the medical
Okay.
field.
Okay. So w- when did you understand that it was long COVID?
Actually, my son, um, when they when we were over there one time, and they witnessed me breathing the way
Hmm.
I was, and they, of course, my family and friends were all concerned with that, and he's kind of in a research type um, area. He's the one that first told me, it sounds like you have long COVID.
Hmm.
What I asked, well, what is that? He said some people don't get over COVID. They have symptoms um, for several months to even 2 years
Hmm.
after that. So, and that's probably in March when this conversation was, but that was the first. So, um, and he
Mm.
had been kind of looking at everything going on about that.
So no direct answers from the medical system. Your son, who's in research and development, it kind of pointed it out to you.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So now you know you have long COVID, roughly 90 days into this. What was your what was your next steps after that?
Well, I didn't really have anything because I thought, oh my God, the doctors don't know how to do anything for this, and I'm not getting any better.
Hmm.
And it, because in the beginning, my primary doctor, I had asked because I was kind of against getting the vaccines
Hmm.
and I asked my doctor, is if I got COVID, what?
Hmm.
She didn't have a very good outcome. She didn't think I would do well.
Hmm.
I may not make it, because of all my underlying conditions. So, and then of course, my son begged us to get the vaccines. And so we did get the initial two in 2021. But when I had long COVID, I was thinking back and, everything she said. I said, well, I guess this is my time,
Mm.
you know, and I just made my peace with God. I mean, I was ready to go,
Mm.
even though I didn't want to. But sorry.
No, no, it's real. It's real. Let it out. Let it out. Absolutely. It's okay. You're gonna help a lot of people out by telling your story. A lot of people that are where you're at, where you were at, that were just ready to go. They're gonna be able to know that there's hope to get through this because of the story you're telling today. So yeah, this is a lot of people are going through this right now.
There are, and I couldn't, I didn't realize that until, you know, it, I found you. So But
Well, and that's that. Before we get to that, so I was at the gym the other day, and a friend of mine was telling me, his wife, she has breast cancer, and he's going to the treatments with her, and he's like, I had no idea how many people actually have cancer. And it just goes with, just a little tidbit, your reticulating activating system in your brain. You buy a new car, you see that car everywhere. Cancer, you see it everywhere. Unless you're going through it, you really don't pay attention to it. So now that you're aware of it, you kind of see it
yeah.
everywhere. But I didn't want to take away from your story. So you're now roughly 118 days into this journey. You're not ready to throw in the towel. You've made peace with what's happening. How did our paths cross?
Well, my my husband had heart surgery probably 2 years prior to this, and he wanted to have everything, uh, in case he didn't make it. Our funeral arrangements, our plots, blah blah blah. So um, we have our funerals set up at Schrader's
Mm-hmm.
in Baldwin, and so I call in to make a monthly payment, and the lady um, that I talked to, her name is Jennifer, and because she was, I was always concerned with my husband's because he's going to be 85, and he has heart issues and
Mm-hmm.
that. So um, I think it was March, and she could tell with my labored breathing. I said, "Well, Jennifer, uh, I may be the one going before Richard,
Mm-hmm.
and just letting you know." And so she started questioning me, and I told her, I had COVID, and I just haven't been able to get rid of it. And um, that's when she said, "Well, she knows a man that had long COVID for 2 years, and he was able to get rid of it somehow." And I said, uh, I thought, well, I didn't ask her then for the information, but I said, I need to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
And after I'd hung up, I emailed her and, you know, Jennifer, do you have his information? I want to call him. I want to contact him. And so she gave me your email. I don't know if she had your phone, but, and in the meantime, um, I had, I had talked to my family, my son and my husband, and, they were kind of, they didn't know what, but they were okay with me, calling you. I was going to do it anyway, but,
You little rebel.
well, it's amazing what you do,
Oh,
and when you're in a situation, you'll do anything.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, when your back's against the wall and no one's helping you. Yeah, absolutely.
and I think I emailed you,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked on my phone history, and it was like March 28th or something
Mm-hmm.
is when you called, and you told me, your story, and I said, I'm on board. So what can I do? So,
You know a fun fact? When I called you,
what?
I was fishing.
Uh,
I was. I was actually fishing. Rick, the president of Fish Out of Water, took me to a fishing hole and said there was a bunch of fish. There was absolutely no fish. It was a horrible day, and so I'm bored, right? So I pick up my phone, I see your email. I'm like, I'm gonna call Delaine real quick, and I called, and it was God. I mean, there shouldn't have been any fish catching that day, so, just so I could have the conversation
yeah.
with you. I mean, I would have called you later that day, but it was just funny. Okay, so we have a conversation. you're on board. Your
Yeah.
husband and son are not. And then what happened after that? So the folks at home know the rest of the story.
Well, you kind of explained it, and I think we had a couple more, and I was um, telling, talking to my husband about it, and of course, the skeptical, well, if it's so great, wouldn't the doctors be using it, and wouldn't it be on the news every day, and blah blah blah. But and my son, I said, well, talk to Eric. And he said, well, if Eric's on board, I'll be on board. So Eric researched and, like the information you gave me. And
Mhm.
he said he found a lot of articles that where it was successful. And,
Mhm.
and so that we took the next step. I took the next step and you told me what all I needed to do. And, uh, it was hard making that video, but,
I somehow we're gonna have to get that video. The first one and then the second one. I showed it to my daughters last week, and we were all in tears. It's just so amazing. But okay, this is my favorite part of the story. So you come and we meet at EOS Med Spa here in Sunset Hills, and I get to meet your husband and your son, and you take us through your story of what you went through, and then if there's anything you missed, I want to add my perspective because it was absolutely life changing for me to see what happened next.
well, it was a struggle for me to just talk when I walked in there. I was asking questions and, so they, but it, and my husband was there. He was, I have to see it to believe it.
Hmm.
And, my son wanted to be there, um, just because but, we hooked up everything, and I brought my nebulizer, the IV, and, the nebulizer was probably, 10 or 15 minutes of, breathing, and the IV stayed in a little bit longer, but after I could tell, just then and you had said, you may feel something, in a few days that may get a little bit better, so my hopes weren't I wasn't expecting a miracle at
Hmm.
that point. But when I took the mask off and I breathed and I said a few words, I could keep talking. I could talk without having to gasp for air. And my son was, and both of them were in shock. I mean, it was a miracle. It was to me. It was so.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it in. Um, yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I saw you came in, and you couldn't say but a couple words, and had to gasp for air, and I went through the same thing for the first year until I found hyperbaric chamber therapy. So there you are talking, saying a couple words, and then you'd be like, okay, Richard can talk. So Richard and I would talk, and you did the mask, and you were talking with the mask on, like, how long is this going to take to work? And me to give you comfort, because they say, 1 to 2 days is where you're really going to feel it. And I'm like, it's 1 to 2 days. Don't worry about feeling anything right now. But we had no idea how fast it would impact you. Like you said, you took the mask off, and it's within 10 or 15 minutes. We were all joking around. You're having a conversation, and then you just kept talking, and we all seen you keep talking. Everyone in that room, and all of a sudden a light bulb went off in your head, and you're like,
I can talk.
I can talk. And then, oh, it was the most beautiful miracle. I mean, you just within 15 minutes, your lungs came back and were operating. I mean, we should have videotaped that because I know we're doing it on a podcast, but you really had to see it to believe it. And what we're talking about here is called exosomes. And Delaine got a treatment of exosomes. And what those are is little magical miracle workers that come from the placenta of a girl between 18 and 24 that has a baby. She can't be vaccinated, no STDs, and a low BMI. And they freeze these beautiful little things, and then they administer you 80 billion of them. So you got a third through a nebulizer and two-thirds through a push, and your lungs came back. So take us from there. You're now talking. Did your husband get upset that you had all this ability to keep talking more? And he's like, it was so quiet for so long, or what? What happened after you left the
No,
OS?
by the time, we went out of there, and I actually had so much energy, it just, I felt good. And we, my son and I, we went out to eat afterwards, and I just was blah, 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 blah. So
I love it.
I was laughing too, before if I laughed, I'd end up coughing for, an hour almost. I can't. And that's why I kind of muffled my cough forever. But
Yeah.
I was able to laugh out loud. And, so like I said, I felt younger, and I wasn't tired. And it just gave me, a new lease. It was the first day of the rest of my life. I think had said that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
It was a big beacon of hope for you. Like, I'm not going to die. Did you call the funeral home and tell them to put a
I
clause on the death
did.
thing? Hey, I'm not dying right now.
I actually called when I got home. I called Jennifer and I said, "Can you guess who this is?"
Oh
And
my
she said,
gosh.
"Delaine." So she was
Yeah.
just so happy, and just she said, "You just made my day." So I said, "Well, you helped save my life." So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's amazing how God has brought us all
yeah,
together on this
yeah.
journey. Um, I had to go through it, ran into Jennifer somewhere. I have a horrible memory because of this.
Church.
Church. Okay.
You weren't gonna
Yes.
go.
Yes.
And she said her husband was sick and she wasn't going to go, but she said, I'm going to go. And that's when y'all met each
It's
other.
God.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. All right. I could get off on a whole podcast about God, but okay. So you're out of this treatment.
Mhm.
You're feeling better. I know there was another step in your process you had to do to continue to get better, because as we're finding out, the spike protein is what causes these issues in our symptoms, in our systems, right? So spike protein can cause inflammation in all kinds of systems in your body. So you were better, but you didn't detox your spike protein, which we now know to do. Who helped you detox your spike protein?
You sent me to Dr. Flory.
Mhm.
He's part of that. And he has taught me so much about what inflammation does. And I was the walking poster board for inflammation, I believe, because
Yeah.
it affected everything, in me. But I started um, taking supplements, and which really have helped. Um, the I think 2 years prior to um, me having COVID, I'd been dealing with severe back pain,
Mm,
uh, which, the doctors, of course, I couldn't walk. I had to use a cane. And
really?
um, the I was able to get I'm so claustrophobic. Had to have an MRI, but I went to an open one. I was
Hmm.
able to get through that somehow. But I mean, what they showed was 4 bulging discs, which, I was told later was probably all inflammation too. But
Hmm.
um, all they wanted to do was put me on opioids. And I mean, I had to take them just to survive the day,
Hmm.
but they made me so sick. Um, I, I th- went back. I said, something needs to be done. So they were going to send me to pain management, but thank God they couldn't get me in for 3 weeks. So
Mm.
in that time, I went to a chiropractor, and she was able to at least get me off the opioids and where I could walk, but I always had a limp. And, so I still, I was having to take, like pain, like Tylenol or ibuprofen, large quantities daily for 2 years just to make it. But after I had the first treatment, I was in no pain at all. I didn't have to take uh, the ibuprofen for probably 2 weeks.
Wow.
And, but then it started.
Hmm.
And a week after that, I started getting a cough back.
Hmm.
So, uh, and I knew you said it may take more than one, but uh, I did have it, my pain in my back was got to be, I mean, so severe that we did have an appointment
Hmm.
and I called to see if I could get it earlier because
Mm.
couldn't do it. So I got my second treatment probably a month after my first.
Okay.
And ever since then, I mean, it's knock on wood, it's been life saving. And then with all the um, supplements to address the inflammation and that,
Hmm.
it, I just feel like a different person.
I know you said you feel better than you did
I
before.
sound terrible now, but
Yeah. You sound fantastic. I really can't. I really hope we can do this. We can share you singing after. So we have the video of you coming on to Fish Out of Water, and then you're singing. It just we're gonna figure out a way to share that on here because it's just beautiful. And I love how you said it. You may not like my voice, but it's my voice, and that just was powerful because you do have a beautiful voice,
Well,
and it
oh,
and it
thank
is your voice. So I ran into Dr. Flory as well too, and he's the one that helped me and my daughter detox from the spike protein. So I met him February of this year and started detoxing shortly after that. And I got my treatment 8 days before I talked to you. So my lungs came back in 2 hours. That's what I was telling you. It might be 2 days. It took me 2 hours. You're just an overachiever. You did
well,
it in
you do.
15
Well, no,
minutes.
you had yours a lot longer, 2 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, mine was not that I'm counting, but 2 years, 3 months, and 8 days of suffocating. And you said this earlier in the podcast, just to come back, circle back. Long haulers, it could be indefinite, and I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just trying to get them to seek, the proper medical attention. There's people that have had it longer than me, 3 years, long COVID. So they don't know when the end to it is. We know after talking to Dr. Flory and other doctors that it is one, it's a spike protein intolerance in your body, and two, it's inflammation. So once you get those addressed, your body starts healing naturally. And it sounds like you're gonna be doing a lot more things in the future that you couldn't do prior.
Correct.
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe coming out with that album, singing some John
I
Denver
do.
songs.
I do have some my demo that I did back in college, but no, I've practiced since then because that was, I guess, the week after I made that video. And since then, my voice has gotten better. Right
Mhm.
now, I couldn't do it, but um, and my memory is coming. I can remember how to play them. I thought I can't remember how to play these
Oh,
songs.
yes,
Uh,
it's beautiful.
something's doing right up there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, uh, question for you, just for folks that are listening, because we're going to start gaining an audience of people curious about long COVID and vaccine injury. So, to the Delaines out there that are suffering, that are making arrangements at the funeral home, that are kind of right on the verge of giving up. I mean, what could you tell them? I mean, just to give them some hope to keep going. What would you want to hear at that point?
if we need to get you out there in the fish out of water out there and pray. And there's somebody there's because anyone and everyone that I've talked to since then, I've told them, if I had a business card, I could give it to them, to this is where you go, uh, for that. And I think, word of mouth that, but uh, praying definitely. And, God's going to answer your prayers.
Hmm.
And just don't give up. Don't give up.
I love it. Yeah.
So,
He will answer your prayers. A good friend of mine told me that he doesn't bring you to the deep water to drown you, but to cleanse you. So you've came through this for a reason. And maybe you don't know it yet, but you will definitely see it. I mean, God's timing's perfect. Did I say that correct? I'm a little dyslexic.
yeah.
God's timing is perfect. Yeah, I did say that right. Okay. But no, it's been an absolute honor getting to meet you and in seeing your story unfold and being able to use it to the purpose we're doing. We're trying to give hope to other people and to witness that miracle. I mean, it's God all the way, but I think it's going to impact so many people that are struggling. And there's estimations out there, right?
Well, just the candidates on the website. I mean, I'm not as bad as what a lot of them are.
Yeah.
I could, oh,
Yeah. We've sent quite a few patients to some special places, and there's some people that are just really bad. Um, not from the long COVID, from the vaccine side effects. I'm not a doctor. I think that's a different animal to attack. Um, it's similar, but it's just been tough to watch some of these people go through. But um, there's there's roughly 33 million Americans suffering chronically, like you and I, and some of those are scared to speak up. This is in my head. The doctors, I seen 36 different doctors, and they all told me I was depressed. You did 13 tests over 3 months, and no one pointed out to you until your son came into play. So this story is going to be so powerful for people to say, hey, I don't care who thinks of me this way or that way. Something's wrong. I don't feel well, and I need to go get it fixed. And it's everywhere right now. So, it's just an honor to be talking to you on this podcast.
well, like I told you, I mean, you saved my life. I'm whatever I can do, to help spread the word, I will. So
I'm
tell
gonna
me
get
what to do.
I'm gonna get you those business cards. I keep promising you. So I heard you say, I promise I will get you the business cards out there. I go through them so fast. And like was telling people, I put my number on some of the business cards, and I made that mistake. And it's not that I don't want to talk to people. That's my passion. But I was getting calls all hours of the night. I would hear these people's stories, and I'd hear my voice of dying in their voice. And it was taking
Yeah.
me off my journey to be able to help more people out. So I'll get you the ones with the email on there
Okay.
without the phone number. But if there's someone special that that needs help, I have no problem. Give me their phone number and I'll call them. So
Okay.
I would love to.
Okay.
So that's it in a nutshell. Delaine, thank you for coming on today.
Well, thank you for having me.
I can't wait for your album to be released. And maybe we can do this. And you can't say no until I ask you all the way.
La la la.
Maybe you could do us a song and we can make it as our intro to the podcast. Think about it. I mean, I'm not putting
I don't.
I'm not putting pressure on you live on air or anything, so you can't say no right now. You're going to have to wait till we turn that button off before you say no.
The songs I played were back in the 70s.
Well, I know, but you, like I said, you have a beautiful voice. We'll come up with something so it's not copyrighted. And you, episode 2, when people say, where did that song come from? They can go back to episode 2 when I pressured you into singing an intro song for us. You think about it. You think about it.
My memory's not good.
I'll keep reminding you, just like the business cards. Well, thank you all for listening to episode 2. This is Delaine Dale. I'm Tim Hustero, and this is Fish Out of Water. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Well, I haven't done this in over 10 years. I don't know if I can do it now, but Tim, here you go. This old guitar taught me to sing a love song. Oh, it showed me how to laugh and how to cry. Introduced me to some friends of mine, brightened up my days, helped me make it through some lonely nights. What a friend to have on a cold and lonely night. That was one of my favorite songs by John Denver. I know I don't have the best voice, but it's my voice, and I thought I had lost it forever. My name is Delaine Dale. I had COVID in December of 2022. My underlying symptoms were asthma, diabetes, high blood pressure, and a member of the Senior Citizens Club. The COVID wasn't that bad. We just quarantined for 2 weeks, but I never recovered fully from it. It eventually developed into long COVID. It affected my heart and my breathing. It was hard for me to talk. I saw many doctors, specialists, had multiple tests, and they weren't able to help me. It wasn't until I was introduced to Tim that I had hope that something could be done for me. And on Friday, April 21st, I had my treatment with EOS Med Spa. It was the first day of the rest of my life. I was able to talk after a 15-minute treatment. My breathing definitely improved. In the days since, I've felt stronger. My brain is not a fog. Things seem more clear. I have more energy. I don't feel old. And for the first time in I don't know how many years, I can actually laugh out loud without having a coughing fit. This treatment has been a godsend to me. And I thank all the donors who made it possible for me to get this. And I want to thank especially Tim. Sorry he had to go through it, but without him, none of this would have been possible. Thank you.
This episode of Fish Out of Water is back on shore, but our journey continues, unraveling the mysteries of rocky post-COVID health seas. We've made the expensive mistakes navigating so you don't have to. Let's keep sailing towards hope and healing. Thanks for joining our voyage. We'll be back soon with more discoveries.